morning and welcome to Cover 2 Cook. We are on episode 86. We are going to be talking about one NFL news that I did not let my co-host know what we're talking about. And then we're going to talk about the March Madness. That's the biggest thing that's happening in sports right now. What do we take away from this weekend? And what do we look forward to as we come up to the Sweet 16? But before I get too far, let me bring on the co-host, Mr. Tim Cook. How you doing today?
I'm doing good. We had some good games over the weekend. We got to spend some time together up there, up in your neck of the woods. And the games were okay.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. There was no Sunday night was the best game we had so far.
Yep.
It took until Sunday night for a Maryland game-winning shot, a buzzer beater, to finally happen when all we were hoping for was Cinderellas and things like that. But before we get on to March Madness, I have one thing I have to talk about in the NFL, okay? And we talked about we weren't going to talk about it anymore.
Uh-oh.
And that is that J.J. McCarthy has not been announced by the Vikings that he is the starting quarterback. So guess what that does? That opens that door back open to Aaron Rodgers, or possibly this rumor that I heard that they might go after the Chargers quarterback, Justin Herbert. That was a huge thing because I saw it all over Yahoo, and I'm like, who said it? I couldn't see whether it was JJ or the Vikings said it, but they're saying the Vikings are like, whoa. We never promised him the starting position yet. So what do you think about that one?
Well, that has to tell you one thing. That knee is not sounding.
Yep.
If it's an open competition, that knee is not sound. They are nervous about what he can do off that knee. And that may open – I don't know if it does open up for Rodgers to come back because I think they pretty much said – but there's going to be a competition. And who are you getting as a competition for him?
Yep. Joe Flacco?
That's what – but he's 38. I mean, I don't know. I mean, this what is Minnesota doing? Unless, like I said, let's just see. That knee is not sound. It can't be.
I truly think this was what, if you're a Vikings fan, this is what you wanted to hear to get Aaron. Because thinking about going forward to JJ, that's the future, right? So you got to find out if he is the guy or not.
Right.
But I truly believe the Vikings are a quarterback away, which I felt like we saw last year, from possibly being a Super Bowl caliber team. They went out and got offensive line. They went out and got defensive line. They kept the core people in there. I mean, who else? What else do you need? Those Vikings struggled on the offensive line and defensive line and quarterback those last two games of the year. And now you went up and said, hey, I'm going to go get these guys. Aaron Rodgers, I think, put your team into a whole nother caliber. He played decent at the end of the year. I think this is now the Vikings being like, hold up. We might want to go for a Super Bowl this year, which why wouldn't we? Right. Why would we not?
Yeah, I mean, but now you're playing with this kid's mind now. So that I don't know if I like that where you're, we really on you something's going on in the background where he's not getting, something's going on. Something that's going on. Like I said, I think it's the knee injury. They said he went under the night the second time. It's got to be that. It's got to be an injury where they don't feel confident in him just yet. And like you said, they are a Super Bowl caliber team.
Yeah.
They are. This is it.
And I definitely agree. This will definitely mess with JJ's projection or, where he's going to go and stuff like that. And I totally get that. But bringing in a quarterback that's not fully healthy this year and trying that will ruin him faster than if he had to sit another year. I mean, he didn't even really sit last year. He was injured last year. This year he would sit. And we've seen, what was that guy out in Green Bay? Oh, yeah. What was it? Aaron Rodgers did pretty well after sitting. That other one, Jordan Love. Oh, yeah, Jordan Love. Yeah. Oh, wait. One last one. I don't know this guy's name. Patrick Mahomes.
Right.
These guys did okay sitting. It doesn't have to take a rookie quarterback first year to dominate. It's great. CJ Stroud's great. The other one for the Washington Commanders. It's absolutely great.
Yeah.
Great. But we don't need that because we have Justin Jefferson. And we possibly won't have Jordan Addison. But whatever. Like, we have caliber players to go to the Super Bowl. TJ Hawkinson, good team. Aaron Jones. Why not? Why not go for it with Aaron Rodgers?
I mean, what do you got to lose? I mean, what do you got to lose? I mean, it will keep Justin Jefferson happy. Hopefully, he'll get him the ball. And that defense is all right. I mean, it's not great, but it'll get you that offensive line, and that would be a key to Rodgers coming. Is that offensive line is pretty good.
Yep.
I mean, they're talking about him going to Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh offensive, they just got rid of one of their guards.
Yep.
due to free agency. That offensive line is terrible.
Well,
I mean, that's what held them back last year.
And if you tell me last year that if you would have told me the start of last year Brian Flores would not have a head coaching job, I'd have been like, you're crazy. Because the way that defense played in the beginning of the year, we're getting back. And we're going to do it all over again. And that's what I think is like why I think Aaron Rodgers looks at that. The defense looks great. Coaching looks great. Everything that in New York that didn't look good, he has in Minnesota. He has it. He doesn't need Devontae Adams because he's got Justin Jefferson, which is better than Devontae Adams today. I'm not saying in career and all that stuff, but today he's better. So, all right, I'll stop. I have to bring this into the universe because I want Aaron Rodgers as a Vikings fan. But
I don't know why. One thing, Anthony, I don't know if you've seen the footage of Jaden Daniels and Juju Watkins talking. And then the mama decided to come down, and the mama was out in between them. And there's the caption goes, "This is his agent. This is his person." In other words, Juju, get back. That's my son, and do not talk to him. And she's looking right at the camera because there's a camera right there. Yeah. And she's looking right at the camera like, no, we're not doing this. Right here.
She's been very vocal about this, that she's like, there's a girl out there that wants to ride the coattails of Jaden. Now, Juju is a hell of a step up of some girl. But at the same time, you need to be focused on ball. That's it. No women. And I will tell you right now, it's a funny quote that I've heard since I was a little kid that Tony used to say is that girls take time and money, and you ain't got either one of them. Well, guess what? He's got money, but he ain't got time when it comes to football.
Exactly.
Well, we had March Madness this weekend. We gave you an episode on Friday morning after Thursday's game, so we were thinking, okay, it's going to get better. It's going to get rejuvenated. All number 1 seeds are still in the field. All number 2 seeds are still in the field, except for St. John's. What do you take from this weekend of the chalk of a tournament?
I think, is the NIL killing college basketball? Will it be the demise of college basketball? And I'm not saying this college basketball of March Madness.
Yeah.
This is going to be a big – I'm hoping this is a one-off this year. It's all chalk because it's a one-off. But I have a bad feeling that some of these mid-major teams that have these good players are going to go to these bigger colleges, and this is what you could see going forward.
Yep.
Now, with the bigger schools, the SEC, you've got 18 teams in there. A lot of teams. The Big Ten's got a big teams. You're going to see these bigger schools still getting in to this. I'm hoping this is a one-off this year. I really am, and I think it is.
I totally agree. I mean, but you did see teams like, I think it was what was it? Oh shoot, McNeese. McNeese had some team players that came from like Syracuse and things like that went to McNeese, and you're like, okay, so maybe that's where the NIL can straighten it out a little bit. But at the same time, these Auburns, Houstons, Duke, and Florida gave a run for their money on this weekend, but Duke dominated. Houston had a run for their money, and the other one too, the other I can't think of the other number 1 seed, but whatever, they had a run for their
Houston.
Yeah, Houston.
Auburn
had a run for their money. Like every team kind of had a little bit of run for their money, but when it came time to finish the game off, those teams just obviously show that talent does matter, whether it's the Cinderella story or not. But even that first 2 days, we thought there would be some bigger upsets, and it was funny. It was like not really huge upsets. I mean, it was maybe some 10 and 7s, but no 12-5s that were that big because they didn't make it to the Sweet 16. It was definitely a less exciting weekend than you kind of thought was going to come out of March Madness.
Yeah, and there was no buzzer beaters. There was no, except we had to wait almost 4 days for a buzzer beater. And, and there's some controversy whether he traveled or not. Dude, let's let the play out. I get it that you need to call the game in the first 4 minutes of the game and the last 4 minutes the same way. I get that. But, if they miss it, they miss it. That's something you can't review. And it was a hell of a shot. He's falling away and he banked it in. That was a hell of a shot. Yeah,
I do laugh at the commentator that was, or the person that gave the interview after. He was like, I was in the huddle and I heard the player goes, give me the bleep ball. And it was just like one of these things where it was all set up in motion, perfect for Maryland. I do agree that it was kind of one of those ones where it looked like he might have took an extra step. Mm-hmm. But if you call that, if a referee blows his whistle and calls that in that moment after the ball goes in, that becomes even more controversy than anything else.
I agree.
The other game that I thought was pretty chippy that was kind of good at the end too was BYU and Wisconsin. Obviously, BYU being the Mormons, you would think they would have a little bit more class.
Right.
They were, waving bye to the Wisconsin team and things like that. That one got chippy, and you are seeing it. You are definitely seeing a lot more chippies. We saw 2 guys get hit in the nuts over the weekend and get teed up from that, or 2 flagrant 2s.
Right.
It was like, but it was not that exciting of a like. Okay, I need to sit down and watch all this unless you were gambling. So let's talk about our gambling weekend, okay?
Oh, boy.
Moving to the state of Wisconsin, it's absolutely great for the property taxes. The houses, cheaper. I love it. But when it comes to gambling, Wisconsin, I don't know what you guys are debating about because I see political commercials every 2 seconds. But one I needs to be on the table is getting gambling in Wisconsin, because us having to do it this weekend was absolutely crazy. We started out Friday going to Gurnee,
Right.
where people got to see us do the wall, and that's a big TV. I will say there is a moment we got to talk about at the wall where a person comes in and says that they wanted to turn on the Indiana women's basketball game.
Yes.
And I will say, there's one screen that has sound. All the TVs don't have sound. So the main screen is a movie theater screen. And he asked to switch out of all 4 games on a Friday to an Indiana game. And you know what? I want to give that kudos to that guy, because he brought his daughter, it looked like, and they wanted to watch the game.
Yeah.
But that is hell of a ballsy coming into a March Madness where there was significant amount of people in there being like, whoa, we are going to watch the 4 games that are going on. We'll flip it back and forth on those. We actually did end up leaving because after that, it was like, we want to watch like the four games. Yeah. There's too much going on at once, if that makes sense. But what did you think about all that?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest deal was, we were there first.
Yeah.
Me, you, and Lisa was there first. And, we were watching the game, and then it got into the game was over. And the guy asked us first, hey, can we switch it in? And I'm like, I'm okay with it. When I go to the local bars in town in Toluca, I go, if there's people watching I ask people, hey, can we turn on to the Auburn, Michigan game? Yeah, no problem. And they'll even give me the controller and let me, change it to that station, because they don't want to deal with it. But if they're watching something, you don't get to change it until the people either leave or whatever. So we were kind of nice about it. I didn't really care about it. But then when the other group down below us said, hey, what the hell are we doing? We came here to watch March Madness, the men's tournament, not the women's on the big screen. And it was just like, well, did you ask? And he asked us about it. And I'm like, I've already given up my rights to watch any games now, because I give it to this guy that he brought his daughter in, and I don't know if she went to Indiana or she's an Indiana fan or both. But I'm like, you got to ask them. And they weren't happy about it. And it's just like, that's just the common courtesy, I guess, where we came from, that you ask people. Yeah. You just don't say, hey. And then the manager comes up and says, well, we're licensed to be on the college basketball, the men's.
Yep.
We're not allowed just on the big screen. He was just saying the big screen, not on any of the separate TVs to the side, because they got 4 or 5 TVs along the side. But with the big screen, they are licensed to do it. And I started asking around. I think Buffalo B-Dubs is the same way. They have to, if they're promoting the men's tournament, their big screen has to have it on that station, on the men's tournament.
I think they get like because when you pay for things like that, pay-per-view or like UFC, when you advertise it, you've paid already a portion of money that you need to now make that back up. So, but at the same time, what they promoted was the Colorado State and I'm looking at my bracket, Memphis game or something like that. It was like, it wasn't a game that I was like, oh shit, everyone's going to come to watch this one. It was a random game. But then at the same time, there was 4 games going on. And it was, I give kudos to the guy for asking. I mean, when you think, we've been there multiple times and there's been like 4 people total. It was actually a decent amount of people coming in for this. But then once that happened, I was like, all right, I don't want to deal with this. Like, let's go somewhere where we can feel confident. I got 4 TVs at home, but I want to gamble. So I got to stay in Illinois. And then we ended up going to a local bar in around that area where we used to live. And then Saturday, we come to Saturday and we're like, all right, we gambled a little bit Friday, did okay Friday night. Saturday, what do we do to get in there? And I know that this might be hard, but I don't know how much you remember Friday night since we left you damn near when you fell asleep.
I got my belly full, man. I was like, I warm covers, I was like, I could go to sleep right now.
Cover 2 Cook fans, you have to hear this real quick. I did not take a video or a photo because I couldn't do it. But I will tell you right now, we got back for the evening shift of the Friday games, and we left this man in Illinois because he comes there, and we got some food on the way home, and he starts falling asleep on the couch. And I'm like, what the hell is he? Let's go downstairs where the 4 TVs. He'll get back there. And I don't know if this man had his feet up before he started snoring. And then he's snoring the whole game and like the whole night. So then the games wrap up around 11 o'clock, and we're like, all right, we're going to bed. He's like, all right, close this thing, and then goes right upstairs. He's like, will you grab my phone? You had one responsibility, and that was the phone. Luckily, this man had some bets that hit because then it was like, hey, you woke up and you're up some money. But otherwise, but then Saturday, we wake up and we're like, okay, we watch our Bet Live, ESPN Bet Live. How do we get going on this? Well, then we had to drive 10 minutes across the border, stop at a local tobacco shop to do bets, to drive right back over the border to come back to do this. It was an absolute disaster. We did joke about this, that maybe next in the future, we get a hotel room in Illinois, bring all the TVs, all the gaming systems that we need to set up all the TVs, and just sit in a hotel room all throughout the weekend, because driving back and forth was absolutely annoying.
Yeah.
And if I'm in a hotel room, I could just lay on the bed. I feel so bad for the maid, because you're just going to walk into absolute food smells, BO, and absolute
and other
ass,
smells, right?
And ass,
right.
Just. But that was a detriment. I guess I never thought about that. I don't really gamble too much on the NFL besides what we do for our betting. But like, I can come home, or I have reasons to go to Illinois. But like, when I don't have a reason to come to Illinois and then just gamble, it was like, that was annoying. That was really annoying.
Yeah. The state of Wisconsin, get with the times, everybody. Get with the times. I do know that I used to watch a New York sports talk, and there was multiple people that called up and said, yeah, we got to drive over to New Jersey because New York doesn't have, and they finally just got, I think, this football season where they passed a bill that lets them bet in New York. But it took years for them to pass that. I know that's not a top priority for the congressmen there in the state of Wisconsin, but you know how much revenue that you're losing by people driving to Illinois, to go place bets? Come on, get with the time. You got to get with the times.
Yeah, no, I definitely
do it.
I definitely agree, and we kind of knew this was coming up. Like the betting of the football was one of those things where, like, on Saturday I could kind of throw my Sunday and Saturday bets in there, so then I could just drive back. It was or I'd go get like a coffee in Illinois, even though it's just 10 minutes away, whatever. But now, like, when it was like we led up to March Madness and we're like, okay, we know we have to do this. Well, I wasn't going to gamble on Thursday for the rest of the weekend because you only know. Well, you only knew what Thursday and Friday was going to happen. And then Saturday and Sunday, you had to throw your bets in, Saturday morning? I didn't want to do that. I wanted to bet on the day of. Speaking of that, I did pretty solid on Saturday. On Saturday, how did you do on betting?
Oh. Well, I did. I won 1 out of the 5.
Yeah.
And it had to be the last game between Tennessee and UCLA. I lost on a hook. I lost 2 games the last weekend on hooks.
Yeah.
It was Gonzaga.
Yep.
They were getting 3.5. They have the lead they're down 2. Have the ball, chance to tie or win it, and then they start to fumble the ball out of bounds, and then they foul.
Yep.
It's just like, if you ever watched the show Bad Beats on ESPN, this was one of the bad beats. It was just, and the other game, it was just like, I just didn't have a chance in hell. And it was St. Mary's.
Yep.
They ended up winning, but they only won by 3, I think, and it was 3.5.
Yeah, and that was one thing that over the weekend we kind of talked about too, was they do everything, or at least the company that I use for my betting, they do all half points because they do not want to push. No push is happening on that situation because they want to either you win or lose. We'll pay you out if you win, but if you lose, you're losing by a hook, and that's just which, let's be honest, in your mindset when you lose on a hook, you're like, all right, I'm going to win it back. So then you bet more, and then you bet more, and then you bet more, and you just put yourself in a hole.
Yeah.
We did also talk about this weekend. How many SEC teams would have to qualify or get to the Sweet 16 to realize or to understand how big this year was with the 14 teams getting in? And you were saying maybe 5, 6. They ended up with 7 teams out of the 16 coming into the Sweet 16. I will say that this has been a successful year, no matter how outcome comes, whether Elite 8, Final 4, whatever. That is a successful season for the SEC, getting 7 teams in the Sweet 16. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I definitely agree. I didn't think that we had a little wager going on. I said less than 5.
Yeah.
If they would have had less than 5, it would have been a failure. I think it would have been a failure. You get 14 teams and you can't get half the field in to the second weekend. That would have been a big failure. But they did get to 7. Ole Miss kind of surprised me a little bit. Arkansas surprised me a little bit. You know, where's that at, Calipari? When you were at Kentucky, you couldn't even get teams to the second weekend. You barely got out of the first day.
Yep.
So, and all of a sudden now you're in the second weekend. I'm a little mad because I had St. John's, going to at least the Final Four, and they just took it right to St. John's, which everybody knew that was going to be their downfall. St. John's, they don't have a 3-point shooter, and if they're off at any time, they're done. They are done.
Well, and they had a lot of controversy as well too with the Big East Player of the Year not playing the last 6 minutes and stuff like that. That was huge. But yeah, St. John's has been probably the biggest disappointment from the weekend. Yeah. But I know we're going to talk about the Elite 8 and Final 4 as we come up to this Friday podcast. But right now, if you had to put money on it, who wins this thing right now?
Duke looks very, very good. Yep. Duke looked. I mean, they just took it right to them. They took it right to Baylor. I mean, Baylor had no shot at it from the start. Yep. I mean, they just took it right. They give them a little closer, get under double digits, and then they pull back to 15. And then they get to double digits and they pull back. They look, and Cooper Flight doesn't look like he has. That ankle ain't that bad.
Yep. Yeah, no, I definitely agree. That's my team now, too. I mean, Florida has been my team that I've been riding with from going into the tournament. They kind of give a run for their money. Obviously, Auburn and Houston kind of get a run for their money. I think Purdue, depending on what they do against Houston, could get themselves into the Final Four. Do I think they're a championship? They got to go through Duke. I don't see that happening. Tennessee doesn't look bad right now. Do you see? But I want to put a little wager on this right now.
Okay.
Between me and you.
Okay.
I think an SEC team wins it this year. I'm not going to say what team. I'm not putting it on a team.
You only got seven out of the 16 to choose from.
And I'm taking one of them.
So I get the field. You get 7 other teams. Well, I mean, that's half. I mean, that's only fair. All right, I'll bet you. I'll bet you soda pop. I'll take the field, and you can have the SEC.
Because I do feel good about Alabama. I do feel good about Tennessee. I still think Florida might have just had a hiccup. So that's right. You got there and there. Auburn's still in here. Ole Miss. Can they upset Michigan State? We'll talk about that on that Friday one. Other news that I did want to take about from the weekend, outside of that, unless you had anything else about college basketball.
How about Bobby or Danny Hurley?
Yeah.
Is he the new? I've heard this going around. Is he the new heel for college basketball? And heel as in wrestling terms, the bad guy.
Yeah.
In college basketball, I think what he said was bad. Now I've seen some reports that the SID, Sports Information Director, told the person that was taping that if you put that on social media, I will ruin your life. If that's true, that's bad. That is a bad look for UConn basketball, man. You can't be saying things. You can't threaten people. And I've heard that they may go after charges against them for saying it.
Yeah.
I've just been hearing.
Yeah, I will say it's one of these things when you're a player and you hear your coach kind of go off like that, you want to play for him. Right. Because he loves it. Right. He loves your players. And you even saw in the press conference when he was talking that, like, he said that, like, he started crying talking about some of these players, about his life and how this team and blah, blah, blah. That is something you want to play for. But I will tell you right now, as a president of a university like that, you do not want to hear that shit at all. Because that went crazy. Now, I'm not a president. I would relate more to a player, and I think it wasn't bad. But if I went to a game and I made those comments and someone made that comment to me, You're lucky you don't get smacked upside the face with that.
Right.
Like, that shit was crazy. And that shows the competitiveness from him, but it also shows the professionalism of him. And that's where
not good. Yeah.
you can be a winner. And when you're a winning man, hey, you can show those rings off and stuff, and that's great. But when you lose, you better lose with a little dignity as well, too. And he was definitely a sore loser after that one.
Yeah. I mean, and that game was close. I mean, I was traveling back from your place, and I only got to see the last 2 minutes of the game, but I was watching it on my phone. It was nip and tuck all the way through. I mean, UConn could have won.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree. And it was one of those things. I will say Sunday night rolled in, and I was kind of like, okay, we need to get through this weekend. There was a lot of basketball, and it just wasn't exciting basketball, right? Like
I think we're going to get some really good games this weekend. I really do.
Well, we better hope so, because it hasn't been so far, and I think it'll be a detriment. One other thing I want to talk about detriment, unfortunately, is Juju Watkins going down with the knee, season-ending knee injury for the women's game. That is huge. I will say, when the guy came in to talk about watch the Indiana game, it did kind of pique my interest a little bit to watch a little bit more of the women's games. When a team beats another team by 60 points, it's hard to watch that basketball, okay? Yep. But now that they're kind of getting later in their rounds, it's going to get really good with games. Unfortunately, this will now just wipe USC out. This is one of those things where if Caitlin Clark, luckily, we never saw an injury like that, or Kate Beckers, we saw that a couple years ago, what that did to that UConn team. That, unfortunately, just kind of takes them out of the tournament. If they win, that's a hell of a team. I just wouldn't get your hopes up on it. That one's tough. What did you think about that?
Yeah, that's sad because the women viewership, they need that. Yep. They need a Paige Beckers. They need a Juju Watkins. They need some of these. Back a couple years ago was Caitlin Clark. They need the exposure. And with her going down, that hurts them. I mean, Hidalgo from Notre Dame. I mean, there's some good players out there. And if they get knee injuries or ankle injuries, that hurts and they need all the help they can get as far as viewership. When you got key players that are going down, and this could hurt her all next season too, because since it happened so late, it's going to take 9 months to a year to get back to where she might be done for a while. I mean, we may not even see her in college again. She may go to the pros. Yeah,
I mean, this did kind of take Paige Beckers out for a while. I know her knee injury was a little bit different than what Juju's is, but it was one of these things where I think it took her out almost a year for her to come back into it. It sucks because I think the momentum that women's college basketball got with Caitlin Clark, now post Caitlin Clark. I mean, you are watching these games. They're on ESPN, so they're on channels that you can watch. I mean, we were at that wall, and we were interested in, I think it was Kentucky and Michigan or whatever. We were watching that game. It is, and obviously Notre Dame has a solid team as well, so that'll be kind of fun to watch as well for the girls. But that one does kind of just, I will say, if you want to watch basketball where there's not 100 3-pointers in a game, watch women's. Because that's all the men's is anymore, and maybe because I don't watch the NBA. The NBA is not what the NBA I would want to watch. It's 100 3-pointers in a game, and that's what college basketball you can kind of see more. I think it was, what team was it? Was it BYU? There was a team where they had 44 3-pointers in a game.
Texas Tech.
What the hell are we doing?
Yeah.
If you want to watch an offense be ran perfectly, watch women's basketball. It is just so much more crisp. It's more fundamental than it is for boys.
That's the word I was looking for. Fundamentalist, dribbling. Step back through. I mean, it's more fundamentals.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong. It's nice to see when Oregon has a guy that jumps from pretty much a free throw line to throw it down and dunk. That's cool too. But it is good too. So hopefully you guys do tune into the girls March Madness as well. But that is episode 86. It's crazy we're getting up there on our number. We'll be back on Friday. We're going to talk about what happened on Thursday for the Sweet 16. Actually, we'll be recording during that, so we might give a little bit of that, what to look forward to the weekend as well. But we want to thank everyone. Follow us on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, any of them. But we totally appreciate everyone. Have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you on Friday.